Wonderful, wonderful speaker. Once again, one of my favorite people. There are very few people, like I said, are my favorites. And Melanie is going to help us shift gears into something deeper, deeper side of marketing, you guys. This is the part that most people skip, but you should not. Okay? Messaging. Messaging doesn't mean just words on a website or captions on your social media. Your message is something that has its own frequency. So people don't just read the words that you wrote, they feel it. And Melanie understands this on a whole new level. She is the founder of GreenWind Communications, where she helps holistic practitioners and energy healers align their marketing with who they truly are. So she blends human design, intuition, strategic messaging, so that your business doesn't feel, eh, it feels perfect, right fit for you. So she's all about clarity, resonance, and calling in clients who are readily aligned. Let's welcome Melanie. Hi, Melanie. Ask to unmute and let me go.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Summer. Thank you for having me to give this presentation today. I'm really excited. So greetings from snowy Montreal. I'm happy to be here, like I said, and thanks for this opportunity, Summer, for and my goal is to give you another kind of viable perspective on magnetic marketing from the perspective of human design. So I'm going to start with I have some slides, Summer, so I'll put them up if I can can I share here?
Yep,
How do we?
Yep.
I forget how we have to do this here.
Click on the green share button.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah,
there
we go. There we go. Sorry. So let me put my slides up here. Just give me a moment. So here's my title. Energetics of Clarity, How Aligned Messaging has Become a Path to Effortless Clients and Sustainable Growth. So I want to start my presentation with a story, and it's called The Healer's Dilemma. And so I want to tell you a story about Tori. Now, Tori was my first client I had when I start, working with my human design as a consultant. And so Tori had been working as a creative director for a marketing agency for 15 years. She had done everything from A to Z. She had done she worked with graphic designers, she worked with copywriters, she worked with web developers. She did all kinds of things marketing in that agency for 15 years. But she had another real passion in her life, and that was she was an intuitive. And so she worked under Dr. Bradley Cooper, and she decided to, so she quit her job as a director in the agency, and she started her own business as an intuitive healer. And so when I met her, she was already 2 years in, okay? And she'd been blogging, she'd been working on IG with Reels. She already had clients. She'd been getting clients. She was getting most of her work was through referrals. But she had been doing all the things right, okay? But she was not getting the traction that she was hoping for, after all that knowledge that she had, right? And so we started to work together. We decided that this was viable for us to work and have a contract together. And the first thing I did was, of course, the deep dive of what she was doing with her marketing and her messaging, her ideal client, and of course we worked on we looked at her human design chart. And it was there that, we did a bunch of things. We polished her website. We fine-tuned her ideal client. We looked at her energy and how she was showing up. And at the end of the day, we were able to cross that bridge. And she was able to like her marketing again. She was able to do it. And she felt in alignment with it, right? And off she went. And so that's the story I wanted to share with you today about my first client. So I want to introduce to you something. It sounds like it's a bit of an esoteric concept, but it's a very simple one, and I call it the law of the triangle. And it's not something I created, but it's something that's out there. And so you have a man and you have a woman, and they unite and they create a child. Okay, so this is the concept I want to bring forward. And we're all that. we're all that child, right? We're all that part of that. We're part of that law of the triangle. You know that those 2 points that come together to make the third point on the triangle. So this is I want to take the law of the triangle and I want to take it to this kind of level in terms of marketing and from the perspective of human design. So we have energy and we have purpose. And when those two come together, there is an alignment. Okay. And when we're in alignment in our marketing, we are magnetic. Okay. So let's go here. So let's talk about that first point on the triangle, which is energy. And I want to start with this quote who is by Mahatma Gandhi, but now it might not be in the original context that he meant it. However, I want to have you kind of grasp that word unity because that unity is really what I want to bring forward here when I talk about energy and how everything works in human design in this context. Okay, so I'm going to introduce to you the 4 types of energy types. Now, does anybody here have had their human design done? Can anybody let me know um, what if there's anybody who has had know their designation or have had a chart done? Can you let people know I can't see the chat, Summer, but if you can just let me know how many people are kind of aware of it, know about it.
I just said orchestrator. Nobody has said anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Projector.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so there's 1 out of 25. Okay, so we've got a few people coming in. All right. Anybody else?
3 out of 3 people. One person said yes.
Okay, so people there are a percentage of you who know a little bit about human design or have been introduced to it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these 4 energy types. Now there's actually 5, but there's really 4 because we've got a manifester, we've got a manifesting generator and a pure generator, a projector and a reflector. Okay, so I want to talk about how these all work together because nothing works in isolation. Okay. And I want to give this metaphor of the soccer game, okay, to try understand what the strategy, these energy types, how they move through the world, because this is what they do, right? These energy types. So I'm going to talk about the manifester. Now, the manifester is one who is the forward in the soccer game. They're the ones who move that ball. They make that path. They open things up, right? They initiate. And but for a manifester, that forward in the game here, they have to inform before they do it. That's kind of their strategy. All right. The next kind of player in the game here for energy types is the manifester, or sorry, the generator and the manifesting generator. And those people, they are the defense, okay, in this game. So when the ball comes to them, they get to respond. All right. That's kind of how their energy works. They respond to things in the world, right? They don't get to manifest. They don't get to generate. They don't get to manifest like a manifester. They don't get to initiate. They get to respond to what comes to them in the world. Okay. And so that's that second energy type. The third one is the projector. Okay, and that's the one who sits in the middle between, they're like the halfback. They sit in between the forward, the manifester, the ones who are the forwards, and the defense. They sit in the middle and they get to put that ball back and forth between the forwards and the defense, the manifestors and the generators. But they need to be recognized. And they need, in order to be recognized, they need to be also invited. So this is kind of the strategy of a projector, right? They need to be recognized and they need to be invited. Okay, so they're the ones who are putting that ball back and forth between, the manifestors, the generators, and the last one is the goalie, and the goalie is the reflector. All right. And the reflector is the one who has, if you've ever seen these charts on the rave charts, all their centers are open, right? So they reflect everything that is going on around them. And they're kind of like our teachers and the ones who kind of give us that view of the world, you know, in that sense, because they're just reflecting everything that's going on around them. So that's kind of how I want to introduce to you this energy type and these energy types, which are really related to your aura as well. I forgot to kind of mention that. These energy types that I'm talking about are all related to your aura. And when we have you know, it's kind of like a blood test. We know what our blood type is, right? We could be an O or an O negative or whatever. But I'm hoping in the future we'll be able to test what our auras are. We can take pictures of them, right? But we haven't been able to say what they are exactly like human design does. And I'm hoping that will be in the future. So we have these different auras and they behave differently and they help us. That's how we are guided and that's how we move through the world through these auras of ours. Okay. So there you go. That's kind of that energy piece on that triangle that I talk about, that energy piece. So next I want to go to these profile types. Okay, that's the second point on the triangle at the bottom, right? Now, profile types, I actually got into human design on this whole thing about profile types because I recognized that they were archetypes. And, you know, our archetypes, you know, because in some ways they'll say in human design, our profile type is like the costume that we wear in this incarnation. Okay, it's the costume that we wear in this incarnation. And in terms of branding, I really thought I really kind of fell into that too, because I realized, you know, branding is all about, you know, not just branding, but, you know, we need to show up in our marketing differentiated. How do we do that, right? Of course, we could do it through our experience, but there's some either more simple and more elegant ways to do it. And I think human design is that, okay? And it's how we're being perceived. And you know, it's not necessarily even about having to produce a perception because this is how we really are, right? So I want to talk about these six different types. Okay, sorry. They are there's one that is conscious and there's one that is unconscious. And altogether there are 12 profile types with the, you know, the two types together. And of course, this is related to Western astrology because we have 12 astrological types, right? So there is those kind of relationships going on there. And so as you see in these names here, on the left-hand side, these were the original names that Ra Uru came up with when he designed the human design system. And as time has gone on, people have used different terms to describe these different profile types or archetypes that I like to use as a title. Again, these are also related to the I Ching, the hexagrams. So there's all these combinations of systems going on here being built into human design. So I'm gonna with these types, I want to um, talk about a metaphor again. I want to use the house metaphor and talk about how this all fits in together. Okay. So, and I'm going to just give you key notes to kind of give you an example, to give you a sense of what those profile types are showing up, like how they show up, right? So profile one, okay, that is the investigator or the researcher. And as you can see in this metaphor, the number one, they are the foundation builders. They dig, they get to the heart of the matter. Some people will say the internet was created for them, right? They are detailed, they're introspective, they're practical. So they're the foundation. Those number one, that profile one, that type, okay, is called that. And so that's how they sit in the overall picture of the metaphor of the house. The profile type two, or the archetype tool, I'll call it, is called the hermit. And also people can call it the artist or the talented or something like that. As you can see, it's a small window, right? So they need to be called out, right? Because and to be called out because they don't always recognize their talents, but they're a natural talent, and it's something that that is the energy of that profile type, number two. Okay. The next one is number three, and that's in original terms, it was called the heretic. Excuse me, it was called the martyr. Sorry, it's called the martyr. And in more modern terms, people will call it the adaptive, the adaptive. And this is a person who is they learn by trial and error. They have to experience they learn by experience. They learn through experience, but what does not work. That's how they kind of pinpoint things, how things don't work for them. They learn through experience that way. And their experience, they must experience before they understand. Okay. Now, that's kind of just some key points of describing the number 3 profile. The fourth profile type is called the connector. And as you can see, I want you to, he or she is on that second floor. There's a balcony. They stand outside. They stand out in the balcony and they look down and they're seeing people go by and they're chatting with them. So it can give you that kind of sense of what that profile type is like. Okay. And the connector, it needs a stable network. Actually, they thrive on that. In fact, most the connector needs to have a stable network for sure for their business as well. They're also known as an influencer because they're friendly. They're that kind of personality. They have that kind of energy about them. All right. Now the next profile type is number 5, and this is called the heretic. It's also called, new terms have been used. They call it the universal problem solver, things like that. I want you to imagine a person sitting in that window or standing in that window, and they've got a like a curtain that you can only see them partially. Okay. So one of the things about the problem solver is that they can get projected upon because people don't see them very clearly, very well. And one of the things about them is that they really need to have a really well developed brand, actually, because so they can tell people, they can show people what they can and cannot do. And so that's something about the profile 5 that needs to be worked on. They also, another key point about them is reputation. That's something that is them. That is again, that coat that they wear, that coat of purpose that they wear in this incarnation or this lifetime. And then we have finally the 6, which is called the role model or the sage. There's some terms for that. And I want you to imagine a person sitting on that roof and they're looking out and they see the whole picture, right? They can see the whole view. And they're observant, they're the observer, and they can be influential. And they can be they set an example from their experiences. They take their experiences and they really make an example of them. So those are kind of the things I wanted to bring forward on these. Again, this thing here, these profiles, is the second point on the triangle, right? So when those two come together, you get alignment in your marketing because again, you're able to differentiate yourself naturally. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to make something up. You are naturally that. And so it allows you to be authentic in your marketing. And like I said, that alignment equates to being magnetic. People are able to see you for your authentic self based on your energy within human design. So I want to kind of tell a story, another story. I'm a storyteller, by the way, if you haven't guessed. I love stories. I belong to the guild in Montreal here. I tell stories all the time. And I use it in my work, obviously. So I want to tell you a story about a client that I had. And she was a 1-3 projector. Okay. Now, when I had met her, she had basically, she had hit rock bottom. She was ready to quit doing her business. And I really felt like Princess Leia in Star Wars when she says, like, you're my only hope, when she says to Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope, right? And I really felt like that because she really, really had hit a bottom. So we started working together. And right away, of course, being the 1-3 projector, you cannot initiate, you have to be recognized, you have to be invited. And so we start working on those aspects of her marketing and in her business. We also looked at her story. That was one thing that we really had to dig deep in because she had a number of them, but she had to, she finally found the one that really fit. And it was difficult because she had to own it and she wasn't ready to own her story. And, I helped her do that. But when she did own her story, her messaging became crystal clear. We knew who we were talking to. We were able to polish her website that really spoke to who she needed to speak to. I'm sorry I get emotional, but it's it was a really beautiful thing to see because she had hit such a bottom, right? That she was able to come back up. And so I was really grateful to be helping her there. So yeah, so we polished up her website. We got a referral system going for her because again, as a projector, you need to be invited. So we had a system set up for referrals. She started a YouTube channel, which is doing amazing, and she gets constant clients and followers all the time out of it, which is really great. And she's raised her prices, which is even the best thing ever, right? So that is my story. So that is pretty much my presentation. Again, getting back to that triangle, when you have your energy and your purpose in alignment, when they connect, you have alignment and it becomes magnetic. So that is it. So does anybody have any questions?
In all my years of knowing you, Melanie, I have never seen you emotional.
Oh, sorry. Well, I can get that way. Sorry about that. It's in my design, by the way.
Do not be sorry. Do not be
Yeah.
sorry.
Mhm.
I was told I'm an orchestrator, but
Mhm.
I just realized that I am a projector, and projectors are also called orchestrators. What a
Okay.
beautiful
Okay.
thing. I didn't know about it.
Okay. Okay.
So, laser coaching, just like that. If I'm an orchestrator, give me some guidance. If I'm a projector, what should I be doing?
Well, I think you're doing a lot of the things I think you're doing a lot of things right, actually, in the sense that um, projectors have to be recognized. Like I said, they have to be recognized. Do you know what your profile type is, Summer?
That's projector. No?
Okay, but yeah, but there's a profile type. Remember, there's profile types 1 to 6. Do you know what your profile types are?
I could be a problem solver, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, okay. Okay, but let's just say on the perspective of a projector, okay? The projector has to be recognized, okay?
Mm,
And I think you're already doing that in the sense that you are building your authority, right? And you've produced a book, right? Those, I mean,
mm,
again, those are things that we all, those are all choices that we can make in our marketing of how we're showing up and how we're marketing ourselves, right? But from a projector point of view, you also are the kind of it sounds kind of funny, but I'm going to say projectors are the new world leaders, okay? Because the leaders previous were manifestors, okay? They were the ones who they're the initiators, right? So they were like the priests and the kings. But now we're into a new phase of evolution. And the projectors are the real leaders because they can go in between everybody and push that ball around. Okay, does that make
mm,
sense?
mm. It does,
So,
yes.
so you have that ability to do that, but again, it's the recognition and to be invited. So you make those opportunities to be invited, obviously, right? That's what you get to do. And so yeah, I think you're doing all those things. Yeah. Does that answer your
Hmm.
question?
It does. I just wanted to hear it again from another person's perspective
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I've been told I'm an orchestrator and everything that happens to an orchestrator fits in with me because, like this is a summit
yeah.
and I build momentum for it and I build it and I build it and I build it and it happens. You should
Hmm.
see me at 6 p.m. today. After the summit's over, I'm like,
Yes, well, this is the thing about projectors. I could get, don't get me going about, human design, but you need energy from others. You don't produce your own energy. You
mm,
will get it from others. That's how you get it, actually. And so, yeah, but I would love to know your profile. Maybe figure out what your, go to International Human School of Design, get your profile
okay.
type and tell me what they are, and then you'll kind of see yourself a little bit more on how you're in that metaphor of the house, how you're showing up there a little bit, right? And because to me, that's the differentiator that you don't have to create. You're already that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would love to have a conversation with you about this. First, let me go and get my profile done. Brenda has a question.
Yes,
Sure.
Let me allow Brenda to ask a question and then you can talk about your gift.
Thank you. Melanie, is it Melanie?
Yes, it's Melanie. Yeah. Hi, Brenda. Nice to see you.
My profile is 3-5.
Okay.
And
Okay,
I know I have to be invited. I never thought of it as being put into my business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, because that's
how to do that.
Well, look, I mean, a 3-5 is actually very rare. Like there's only like 2 or 3% of you. Like there's very little people that are 3-5s actually. So you're a bit of a rare breed that way. As I said, the profile type 3 is the one who has to learn by experience. They bang themselves around, right? You learn what doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And then the 5 is the heretic, right? So that's the one that's like the universal solver. Like that's the old term, but let's say the universal problem, like a problem solver, right?
Okay.
But that 5 is unconscious. You don't always know of it. The 3 you are conscious of, the 5 you're not conscious of. And I'll kind of give you an example of what that kind of looks like on the chart. Have you seen your chart?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so you have it. So you know the black and red lines?
Yeah.
Okay.
I copied it, so I don't see the red lines, but
Okay, but there are black and red lines in there, all right?
yeah.
The black lines are what you're conscious of. Those are the channels that you're conscious of, all right? And the red ones are kind of like, I'll give the example, they're like a tunnel, okay? So that tunnel, there's a car going underneath it and you hear it, right? But you don't see it. Or you have a stomach, your stomach is all of a sudden you're hungry and it growls, right? You have a growling. It's kind of like that. Those red lines are like that. They're not totally you're not totally conscious of them. They're there and they'll kind of show up like in that way that I gave in those examples. But so that's how you have to kind of look at those two lines, like the black and the red, okay, to kind of give you some guidance there. Okay. And congratulations on getting your design done. That's good for you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful and it's so accurate. My God, I cannot believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost 100%. I mean,
yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I had a friend of mine who she has we have centers, right? And some are defined and some aren't. And when you have a defined splenic center, which you probably do, Brenda, my guess, being a projector, you know things that you just don't know how you know. You just know.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just know. And so yeah, so when you start learning about your design, it's pretty fun. And then you can use it, obviously, right? You can use it on all kinds of things in your life, including your business, right? Which is what I'm using it like as I use it from that perspective, right? Yeah.
I just don't know how to use it really. I've looked at it many times. But I really don't know how to use it. So I wouldn't mind. Do you teach something like that?
Well, we could have a conversation. We could see how I could help you. We could see.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amazing. You know what? I'm so blown away by just your knowledge, just the way you handle questions and throw a lot of light on everything.
Oh, well, thanks, Summer.
Glenn has a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to follow on and just say it's fascinating. And I think you've only really scratched the surface. I'm sure you could talk much more about it. So how do we find out what kind of personality we are or what category we fit into? Where would be a good place to go, Melanie, in terms of testing, and what sort of cost might that be so we find out?
Well, look, I mean, everybody can just go to the International School of Human Design, I'll put it in the chat. And I don't know. I mean, I think just if you just type in Google International School of Human Design, you can go there and there's a free resource to get your human design chart, your rave chart, a basic one. Okay.
Is that the one I put in the chat when you mentioned it? It's ihdschool.com. Is that the one?
Exactly. Yeah, I believe that's it. Yeah. And you just put in your time of birth. You have to have your time of birth. Now, if you don't have it, you can use an astrologer to do a regression to get it, because you can't do it without it. And then, of course, your time and your place, right, where you're born and where you're and the date, right? So it's like you need that information to get started. Yeah. And then you go from there. Yeah. You could start
Combine your
learning about it.
astrological charts, like Chinese and Indian and everything put together.
Yes, exactly. It's like a spiritual smoothie. There's a lot of systems, wisdom systems in place working in human design. Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems from what Brenda was saying is that, when she saw hers, that there were lots of sort of aha moments and that it was spot on. When you have that information, which I guess perhaps answers questions on why we do certain things that we do, what's a good way to then use it? So is it going to help us figure out how to play to our strengths and, what we're
Yes.
attracted to and what repels us and such?
Yes, exactly. What's your strengths and what's your weaknesses, right? Like there's aspects in your chart where, yeah, it helped. Like I said, that's what got those profile types, those archetypes, what got me into human design, because I recognized its strength of it, right? You don't, if you buy into it, and Ra Uru, who the founder says, look, don't believe me, he says, just try it and test it out for yourself. Because the other term that it's called the science of differentiation, right? It's not some philosophy. It's something that you can actually test and see if it works for you. It's not some kind of airy-fairy kind of like I'm a really practical person. Like I don't, as much as I love theory and all kinds of stuff, I'm very intellectual that way, but I am very practical, and it is a practical system because you can test it for yourself and see if it works, right? And so yeah, and so that's kind of, yeah, I'm hoping that the stories that I told you can kind of show you how those things kind of fit together, Yeah.
It sounds like it gives you a lot of aha moments, which I think is quite comforting to.
Well,
Sorry,
sure.
I was going to mute myself then. There's a peacock outside making a noise. I don't know if anybody can hear it.
You
I've
cannot hear
never
it.
seen something so random at a
Oh,
summit
that's so
ever
wonderful.
before.
Oh, I never knew there was peacocks in Sri Lanka. This is something new.
There's one that sits on the wall outside, actually. He's great
Oh
at
my
4 o'clock in
God.
the morning. And of course, it's nearly 3 a.m. I suppose he thinks
Oh,
it's
poor
okay to,
you. Oh, poor
yeah.
you. You need to get to bed, Jen. It's
It's all
late.
good. This is fascinating stuff, Melanie. This
Oh,
is so interesting. And of course, we've got the lovely Brenda and Sam to come as well. But this is great stuff. And as I say, I'm sure that you probably do a whole talk on this and
yeah.
how perhaps we not only play to our strengths, but how we interact with people that are different to
Sure.
us, but we still need to coexist in the
Yes,
world.
exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I want to try give it that kind of, like I said, we don't act in isolation here in the world, right? Yeah, and we need to go towards unity. That's the big goal, that quote that I bring up, right? That was a 3-5, by the way, Brenda, that gave me that I found that quote from. So there you go.
Well, thank you, Jen, for that question. I think many people needed to hear the answer for that.
Yeah.
Jen and I both put the link in the chat to get your own chart. It's free to get that.
Yeah.
When I got mine done, like I think 1970, no, not 1970, 2017.
Okay.
I was like blown away. Da 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 da. Yes, that's me. Da 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 da. Yes, that's me. Every single thing that said about the orchestrator or projector was me. And then I started applying it to my real life, and then no wonder I get that crash after a big summit.
Well, that's it exactly, because you don't produce your own energy. Yeah. But anyway, so my free gift is a 35-minute reading. That's my gift, actually.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, but
Guys,
it's both for the VIP and the regular gift. I didn't have two different. I didn't see that actually, Summer. I sorry
okay,
I didn't
that's
see
okay.
it, but yeah. So so you in the URL you just do a TidyCal appointment with me, and then I'll send you an email, and we'll have you get the information of your birth date, time, and whatever, and we'll just do a quick rundown and kind of give you I'll do a quick reading on clarity and flow for you. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
That
welcome.
is
My
big.
pleasure.
For me, it has been really, really resourceful. So I'm hoping that many people grab that opportunity and get you.